Um, Hi everyone. Let me welcome you all to this session organized by Unicaf Malawi. We are calling it the Research Lab. This is a series of research sessions that we have organized with the purpose of making sure that we empower your capability in conducting research. So a brief background before I hand you over to our today's facilitator. These sessions have been organized with the purpose of making sure that students which are at all levels, the undergrad students, the masters, as well as doctoral level, they are familiarized with conducting research from the designing level up to the conducting level. So research lab will be done in 3 sessions. We're going to have today's session, which is the first session and an introductory session to all the sessions that we are going to be having ahead. And today's part will focus on designing academic as well as industry research. Then after this, we're going to have another session that will now talk about conducting the research, both academic as well as the industry research. Then after that, we are going to have publishing, which will also cover the academic publishing as well as the industrial publishing. So I'm so excited that you're there, and I'm glad that we are all here. We are lucky this afternoon. I'm calling it afternoon here in Malawi. I don't know wherever you are, but this is afternoon. We are lucky to have Dr. Masebo that will take us through today's session. I want to appreciate your presence. And before I hand over to Dr. Masebo, I would like to appreciate Joanna, the co-host, for organizing this webinar. Thank you, Joanna. At this juncture, I would like to hand you over to Dr. Masebo to take us through today's session. Over to you, Dr. Masebo.
Thank you, Limban, for the introductory remarks. So as Limban has indicated, I was asked to focus on academic as well as industry research, the design, and the tools that you can use in research. So I have 4 issues to cover, that is distinguishing the two, plus provision of preparatory steps in terms of research, design, as well as the tools that would be used in both in academic as well as applied research. Now, you might need to know the differences between these two. In terms of academic research, this is a systematic process of studying a research problem or a situation and aimed at generating new knowledge that might be used to solve problems or improve social life. Now, in terms of the industry, applied or operational research, again, is a systematic approach aimed at addressing specific but then practical problems or questions, seeking immediate tangible benefits, but then you apply scientific principles to real-world situations. For example, you might be developing a new drug to treat a disease, but overall just improving productivity of employees. Now, in terms of scope impact, for academic, this is motivated attention, prejudice, there's cohesion and conformity in it, whereas for the industry operational applied research, you don't have to bother with the abstract concepts. In terms of the rationale behind this, academic is to create new knowledge or to advance existing knowledge. Whereas, as I have indicated, the applied one is to simply increase efficiency, productivity, Now, in terms of the aim goal, again, it is about new ideas for academic discovery. It is focused, and much of the research is motivated, as I've indicated, by satisfying an intellectual curiosity. Whereas for the industry, it is for purposes of increasing profits or real-world application. Now, in terms of characteristics, the academic one is idea-centered, while the operational one, the applied, the industry, is practical, is product-centered. In terms of evaluation, the academic one, you are evaluated by your peers in the field. I'll explain these later. Whereas for the other one, you're evaluated by your supervisors. In terms of time frames, the academic one takes long. You might need some years for you to generate the grant, and then you have the approval processes and collect your data and then produce manuscripts for acceptance for purposes of publications and so forth. So there's rigor involved in it, and is peer reviewed through the process. Whereas the industry, the applied, the operational one, you can do it within weeks or within some few months. Now, in terms of deliverables, for purposes of the academic research, you need a final manuscript, which ideally has to get published in well top-tier journals. And whereas the operational industry, applied one, it is about communicating with stakeholders, and therefore you don't need a long manuscript to be shared. Otherwise, nobody will be able to read it. But still more, you may summarize the methods used and actions that might be taken in order to address the problem, and you use very simple, easy to understand language. In terms of measuring of outcome, for academic one, we say significance. But for the other one is a question of directing the company or directing an organization and providing meaning to the numbers that you get so that there's a change or a betterment in the operations. Now, in terms of recognition for academic, it is to do with the scientific honors, the degrees that you get and so forth. Whereas for the other one, the industry operational applied research, you might get incentives within your company, including salary increases, some allowances, and other things. Now, the similarities between the two, in both cases, you require scientific thinking, but also issue to do with methodological expertise, but also the issue of analysis as well as interpretation of data. And these have to be communicated to your audiences. But then to do this, you need to use what we call teaching skills. How do you communicate to business captains? Or how do you communicate new knowledge in the field? Now, in terms of designing academic research, there are 7 steps or 8 steps. One is to identify the research problem that has to be researched. But then thereafter, you conduct what we call a review of the literature. So in doing literature review, others will say is an argument, but then you have to identify gaps. And those gaps will inform your research question. But also there's formulation of research objectives, study questions, as well as the hypothesis. So again, on this one, I have seen proposals whereby objectives might not be talking to questions, and then they're not talking to hypotheses, but then these have to reflect each other. The questions should be able to reflect the objectives. Now, thereafter you select the research design. Is it qualitative or quantitative or mixed methods? And within these, is it sequential mixed methods or concurrent mixed methods? Is it a case study or an experimental research design and so forth? Or randomized control research design? And then there's data collection, and then this data which is collected has to be presented, analyzed, that is to make meanings out of the data that was collected, and interpreted. When you're interpreting, usually you refer to what others have done. But also now that we have data and we know what should we be able to do in terms of improvements in practice, improvements in policy, improvements in further research. But also you write the manuscript that I've talked to earlier on. Then you have a chance to make presentations in conferences, but also publish again in high impact journals. So in terms of the process, again, you need to choose a relevant topic that aligns with your interests. If you are researching something that doesn't align with your interests, it might be difficult to complete that particular study. And you should also be able to see that there are sufficient academic resources. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to do the literature searches. But also use reliable sources, the peer-reviewed journals, the books, and get information from reputable websites for purposes of credibility of your study. Plan, stay organized, e.g. by maintaining clear notes from your research, issues of citing and updating your reference list, but also managing the time frame so that you're on track. But also the issues of ethical considerations as well as approvals, these should be taken into account. But also you need to discuss your issues, the study you're doing with your peers and mentors for purposes of refining this. For example, I have friends, but then they will say, okay, I'm doing a research on migration and so forth. But then you might ask saying, what is your science? Okay, I'm focusing on chain migrations. Okay, what is your science again? Or the social networks of migrant workers. Again, what is your science? The connections between their workplaces and the original sending home areas. So when you discuss with your colleagues, there's room to make improvements to your research work. Now, in terms of the industry research, again, here you identify an issue or a challenge that needs to be addressed. But then you lay a foundation by reviewing available studies in that area. And then you develop actionable research questions to guide your study. Then you select research methods that can be used in addressing the study. And you consult available sources, you collect data. It could be through in-depth interviews or surveys, experiments, but again, as I've indicated, industry research, operational research, applied research has to be done quickly so that you get results that will be used to improve the operations. And then you analyze results using the statistical packages, but also we do have now NVivo. NVivo is not necessarily for analyzing, but it can help you to facilitate coding processes. And then you interpret the findings, you propose solutions, interventions, and recommendations, again, based on the findings, based on the data that you have collected. And then you implement and evaluate the testing of the proposed solutions, and then assess the effectiveness. So you have found what should be done. You have developed an intervention. You implement that intervention, but you have to evaluate the intervention to find out if it is working or it is not working. So that is about the industry research. For example, you might have challenges of health workers in rural areas. And then you suggest that maybe if you provide some scholarships to people living in rural areas, you train them and you bond them to stay in their areas, might assist in addressing the challenge of health workers in rural areas. Then when people are in the system, you come and evaluate to find out if at all they're still working in their rural areas or they have left their rural areas to cities. But also, you might have areas, for example, having more malaria cases. And then you might think of providing them with mosquito nets. But then as a solution, you have provided mosquito nets. But you have to evaluate if at all there are changes in terms of the cases of malaria in that particular area. So in terms of tools that a researcher can use, there are several, but I'll give you 10 of them. The purpose of this is to make your research work easier. For example, we do have the citation manager, Zotel, but we also have EndNote, a reference management software. But also, this time we do have Grammarly for purposes of checking writing as well as grammar. People do use AI, yes, but then if you use it responsibly, it might also assist you, but you have to figure out issues of ethics around that. But also there's a research management tool, Mendeley. Again, as I've indicated, we do have NVivo. If you collect pages of qualitative data, it might assist you to code so that you have similar issues highlighted in one color using NVivo. And then you can just group these ones and be able to make meanings out of your rich data that you have. But also we do have SPSS and Stata as well as R for purposes of statistical analysis. These are softwares you can use, but also the easiest you can use is Excel for purposes of organizing your data as well as analyzing, producing charts and some graphs, and some graphs, yes. But also when you are collecting you are doing your literature review, literature search, you can use Google Scholar and other databases. But also there's a Tableau. This one is for data visualization. And there's also a project management tool, which can assist you as to whom do you have to interview today and where do you have to collect data the next day, and when do you analyze this and so forth, the trail. So let me stop here and open for discussions. Back to you, Limbani. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Masebo. I hope I am audible enough. I just want to be sure if I am audible enough.
I can hear you, but I need to mute myself.
All right. Okay, so thank you so much for that presentation. Let me make mention that this is our introductory session. As I said earlier on, Dr. Masebo was taking us through the introductory session of the Research Lab series. And I would like to appreciate the effort so far invested. At this juncture, I would like to open the floor to the participants for questions. And what I have so far, there are not much questions except one. So I would like to read it out to you, Dr. Maseo. Probably you can pick it up and answer. The question is, do we have access via Unicaf to the statistical tools in vivo and SPSS? So probably as you're responding to that question, I would like to request, I see there is Dr. Winter in the meeting, and I've seen that Joanna is also here. If there will be comments from these people, I would give that floor to them. But for now, we have one question, which is whether we have access via Unicaf to these tools, which are in vivo and SPSS. So over to you, Dr. Maseo, to address the question.
Yes, that is correct. I do teach research methods at master's and PhD levels. And within the VLOE, we do have in vivo, SPSS, as well as R that are available in the system.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Maseo. Okay, so I hereby have another question. Which is from Kent Mukoya. The question is policy formulation related to academic or industrial applied research? Is policy formulation related to academic or industry applied research? Maybe you can address this one as well.
Yes, that is a good, yes, yeah. So that is a good question. For example, if you need to advocate for policy formulation, that becomes industry applied operational research. So because policymakers, the decision makers will not read a long manuscript of 30-page document and published after 5 years now. For example, we started the test and treat program in the prisons, and we began with the Chichiri when I was working for MSF. But then we needed to check the system so that it could be implemented again at Maura in Lilongwe. But then you have to provide evidence quickly to say test and treat improves the life outcome for the prisoners. So the policy, checking the policy, the interventions, and so forth, I would quickly say that is industry applied operational research, yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Maseo. So to the participants, I have opened the floor for questions. You know, research has been one of the crucial aspects, both to the academics as well as to the industry. We have the chance today, though we are calling this as an introductory session, but we have a chance to ask questions that we have in relation to designing academic as well as industry research. So before we go to the next item, for this session, we have opened for questions. Whenever you feel like you have a question, just type in the question comments, then we are going to read out your question and Dr. Maseo will be able to respond to your question. Right, as we are waiting for more questions, let me just update you that the whole idea is to be having these sessions on monthly basis until we finish all the three sessions. So as we've had the introduction to designing academic as well as industrial research today, we're hoping to have another session that will also be facilitated by another expert, Dr. Manda, probably to do with now conducting academic as well as industrial research. And after that, we're also going to have one of the areas that is also key to career progression, which is to do with publishing, which is both academic publishing as well as industry publishing. Okay, now I have the next question here for you, Dr. Mandam. And the question is in terms of our dissertation, does it have to be industrial or academic research? Is it possible for candidates to decide whether to do industrial or academic research? Okay, so I think Dr. Manda, you can take this off again. As you're answering this question, I have another one. What is the role of literature review in applied research? What is the role of literature review in applied research? Let me hand over the floor to Dr. Masebo to handle these two questions. The first one is in terms of our dissertation, does it have to be industrial or academic research? Is it okay for candidates to choose? And the other one is what is the role of literature review in applied research?
Yes, thank you, Rimbani. So in terms of whether it's academic or applied action research in your dissertation, you can do both. For example, you might decide to send messages to people, just reminding them for their appointments with their doctors at the facility. And then you can even have a control group where you don't send messages to them to remind them again of their appointments at the health facility to collect their drugs. And then you compare the two. Then you conclude by saying, by sending messages reminding the clients to come to the facility to collect drugs might be useful, and you advocate for that one. Again, you can do either of the two, is okay. Now, in terms of the use of literature review in the applied research, yes, is to inform the methods that you can use, but as well as the questions that you can use, so that you do not start from scratch. For example, you might do participatory research or even the survey, some quick questions to people, the interviews, but even how do you analyze the data? You have to learn from others. So you need to lead and then be able to learn from others. Even though it is applied industry research, but it still follow the scientific methods in terms of coming out, analyzing the data and coming out of the solutions, the interventions you can provide. Yes, the problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much once again. Thank you so much, Dr. Masebo, for responding to such questions. Before we can proceed, I see that we have Dr. Manda, who has just joined the session. I would like to give him a chance to speak, but before he comes in, there is one more question which I would want to pose, which either Dr. Manda or Marcel can come in to handle it. The question is, What methods are commonly used in industrial research, more especially here in Malawi? That's number one. That's number one. And the number two is, what factors should be considered when selecting a tool for research purposes? What factors should one consider when selecting a tool for research purposes? So these are two questions. And number one is, what are the methods commonly used in industrial research, especially to the Malawian context? Number two, what factors should be considered when selecting a tool for research purposes? Over to you, Dr. Masebo or Dr. Manda.
Dr. Matthew first. My computer is making a lot of noise.
Right, sorry for that, Dr. Manda. Probably Dr. Masebo can come in while Dr. Manda.
Yeah, so in terms of applied research, operational research, usually whatever research goes together with your daily work. So for example, if you need to provide an intervention related to decongesting a health facility, for example, at Vumbwe in Tioro, which is servicing people even from Blantyre as well as from Tioro. And then you create what we call community, whatever, dispensing areas. Or you group people, for example, those on the HIV treatment. You can group them and then they rotate so that one collects drugs on behalf of the others. But then this is part of your daily work, kind of. So in terms of the factors influencing the methods that you can use for your research, is all dependent on the question of the research. If you read a question or just a topic, you will automatically know that this research can be answered using qualitative data, or this research can be addressed using quantitative data. So the research, the question, should inform the methods to be used. I hand over to Dr. Manda, yes.
Dr. Manda, thank you so much, Dr. Masebo. Dr. Manda, are you now able to come in and comment on the questions? All right, as we are waiting.
Can you ask the question again?
All right, there's so many questions here, but for now we had two that Dr. Masebo was responding to. Number one was, what factors should be considered when selecting a tool for research purposes? That was number one. Number two was, in terms of industrial research, what methods are commonly used, more specifically here in Malawi? Do we have some commonly used tools for industrial research according to the Malawian context? So these are two questions that Dr. Masebo was just responding to. Over to you, Dr. Manda. And you may comment on anything that comes on your mind regarding today's topic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, industrial research, the methods that I use, the same ones that we use on a daily basis, and quantitative methods. It depends on the nature of the study and what the outcome should be. But one thing we should have in mind is that industrial research is usually research that you are out there because it is applied. So the methods are very clear. It is in the, qualitative, like interviews, like then you have your quantitative ones where you do like surveys. Okay, so you combine surveys with the interviews to come up with in that research. Rarely do you have experiments as a methods for research, but where possible, like our friends at Luana do industrial research where they do experimental methods. They have a control, they have the major research. So to compare the two. Yeah, so those are the things that I would say for now. Sorry for coming in late.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manda. We understand you had some technical issues, so that's fine. And thank you so much for your input on the questions. I have two more questions here that are related. Number one question is the application of AI approved for an identification of the research area and the broad research structure? Is the application of AI approved for in the identification of the research area and the broad research structure? So the second question is related to that. What tips can one use to come up with a clear and relevant topic that can create a strong research question? So I think these two questions are all targeting formulation of the research topic. Over to you, Dr. Masebo and Dr. Manda, to clear on this area.
Okay, let me
Yes.
start then. Okay, go ahead.
No, you start.
Okay. Okay. The use of AI is very controversial. In some areas, they ban it. They're saying, well, people will just copy. But it is a question of how much AI material you integrate into your research. So in short, to look for a topic using AI is permissible because AI will hunt throughout, will find there's something that somebody has not done much, or something that is new, something that well, it's still a controversial topic. AI can do it for you. So as long as you acknowledge it, there is no problem there. Dr. Masebo?
Yes, you're right. AI can simply guide you, but shouldn't do the work for you. Now, in terms of a good topic, new topic to research on, again, depends on your interest. Because if you are not interested in the topic, it will be difficult for you to finish it. So it has to be interesting to you, but also it has to be a problem to the majority. Let's say, for example, Malawians, and you are trying to propose solutions to address that particular challenge.
All right. Thank you so much, both Dr. Masebo and Dr. Manda, for the input. This other part of the question, may you please just clarify? The question is, if one wants to come up with a good topic, good research topic, what are the practical guide? How should one do the choosing? In other words, if I am to do a research today, how do I go about deciding which topic is good for my research work? Yeah, over to you.
Okay. The topic, to be honest, every topic is interesting, but the topic is the best topic in my view is the one that is current. It tackles something that is happening in society right now at this very moment. That way you can find the literature. You say what can this topic do? What is this topic to do with the things that are happening in a society? That's that's I think that's the best way to find the topic. Currency. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Manda. Do we have Dr. Masebo? Would you like to add from what Dr. Manda said?
Yes, for example, I read people writing on home-based care in HIV/AIDS and so forth. That is outdated. So it will be difficult, but then it has to be current, as Dr. Manda has indicated. Again, it has to be interesting to you, but there is a challenge whereby people, you find that they are citing even the literature which is as old as 5 years. Those things have already been addressed by other researchers, because when we talk of research, you are contributing to knowledge. When we say knowledge, it has to be new knowledge. So it has to be current. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Masebo. I have two questions again from the participants. The first one is in your presentation, you mentioned of hypothesis. And the question is it necessary to include it in the academic research, and can it be used in both mixed methods? That's number one question. Then, okay, let me just repeat. You mentioned hypothesis. Is it necessary to include it in the academic research, and can it be used in both mixed methods? Okay, that's number one. Number two is, do we have the basic structure and components of okay, what is the basic structure and components of a master's dissertation? Like, do we have the difference in terms of structure on master's and degree level? So I think these are two questions that are now in the questions panel for you to address. Over to you.
Yes, so in terms of hypothesis, you need it for quantitative studies. And to make life easier, you have to focus on the narrow hypothesis. In terms of the qualitative study, it is better to use what we call assumptions. Just assume that people are living in point A, and therefore this will happen. That is for qualitative studies. Now, in terms of the structure of a dissertation, you can have 5 chapters: the introduction, literature review, plus the theory part, then methodology chapter, then you have the findings, and you discuss the findings. Then you conclude and provide the recommendations. So 5 chapters will be okay. If you read my PhD dissertation, I have 7 chapters there, but because I had separated the findings into 2 chapters. But 5 chapters: introduction, literature review, and you combine the theory there. Then there's methodology, you have findings, you discuss the findings in 1 chapter. Then you have conclusion and recommendations in another chapter. That's okay.
Probably, Dr. Masebo, you may need to dwell more on the narrow hypothesis and distinguish it from the other type of hypothesis.
Yes, so the narrow one is in the negative. You say people are not performing well at work because they're demotivated. They're not motivated. Whereas the other one, the positive one, is in the positive, saying people are performing well, they're motivated and so forth. So it's better you focus on the negative one to say you believe the input subsidy is not assisting Malawians. And then you do your literature in the negative, and then you confirm or disconfirm using the data you collect from people in the villages, yes. Because if you say, yes, you can have the positive one saying, yes.
You would say, for instance, X causes B, or X does not cause B. So you can see that the first one, the second one is the negative hypothesis. So that's what Dr. Masebo is insisting on. You have to prove that it is not, or indeed it is, it does not cause B. Okay, it does not cause B, or X causes B. For the assumptions, well, you can say this is used in qualitative research mostly. You say, for example, I traveled to Blantyre and I met so many people. I assume that these people were they were attending a rally. Okay. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay. Are you done, Dr. Manda?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the contribution. And thank you so much, Dr. Maseo. I have one more question here. The question says, you have talked of one of the components in the research workers theoretical framework. Would you shed more light on what would you say is the clear purpose of the theoretical framework in research work? What should, when one is handling this section, what should one think of to make sure that this part fulfills the purpose? Over to you.
Yes, so for my students, I insist that they should just have one theory, and whatever they collect should be contributing to that particular theory. For example, you may say social networks can hinder or facilitate whatever behavior. And then you find out whom do you talk to, or what is your main source of information. So people will say either friends or the radio or some media, social media, or the general media. Then when you analyze, you may confirm or disconfirm, if at all, the personal social networks of friends can put somebody in danger or in safety. So based on the theory that they have said before. But then others will even insist that the literature that you review should be around the theory. But then that is a very difficult work. So, but then in research, because we're saying we're contributing to knowledge, and the knowledge that we are saying is the theory. The theory is the knowledge. So you contribute towards that particular theory, the knowledge. Dr. Manda?
Yes, I would add that this comes from your literature review, because when you read, you see that there are many theories, and that there is one that is going to identify with your topic, and then that is the theory you choose. But there is a problem at times when people have so many, maybe 7 theories, so that they get confused. The best is to have one and finish with it. Okay, thanks very much.
And there are some journals like Social Science and Medicine they cannot publish your paper if at all you have not contributed to a theory. So yes, it's knowledge here.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I hope the explanation has answered the question. Now I have one request, but before this request is done, there is one more question. So I'll just read out both so that as you're responding to this question, you might as well be thinking of the request which has been given. The request is this first session of research lab is designing academic as well as industrial research. So the request is, would you please come up with a take-home summary, like key take-home points. If somebody came and has handled the design stage of research lab, what are the take-home points when it comes to research design? And the request has continued to say this is for the sake of those who probably joined the session later. So you may be thinking of that, but the question which I want you to go first responding to is to do with sample size. The question is, do we have, or what is the minimum number of participants that are to be included in your research? In other words, what is the minimum sample size that one can use in the industrial research work? Then after that, would you please just present as per request, like a take home summary points when it comes to research design? What should somebody take when going home as they'll be preparing for the next sessions that will come in on conducting as well as publishing? Over to you. So first question, what is the minimum sample size? The next request is, would you please like in a summary way, present key take-home points on research design? Over to you, Dr. Masebo, as well as Dr. Manda.
So I will tackle the last one, and Dr. Manda will take the first one. In terms of sample size, for qualitative studies, there's what we call saturation. So if you talk to 10 people and the 11th person is again repeating what others have already told you, you stop there. But then if you are getting new information, then you talk to the 11th person, then you go to person number 12, then you are with the 13th person. But if at all they are repeating whatever you have already gathered, you have reached what we call saturation, then you stop there. Now, in terms of quantitative studies, there are formulas that you can use. For example, if there is a population of 300 persons, then there's a formula that will guide you as to how many people you can conduct your survey on. Is it 50 or is it 30 people? But then there's a formula that you can use. Dr. Manda?
Yes, I wanted to add that in case you don't have the formula, there is a website called Survey Monkey, which provides you with the how to select a sample using a formula that is integrated in this website. Thank you.
Yes, now in terms of the summary of the designs between academic and applied research, can you summarize again, Dr. Manda?
Sorry, this I'm
Yeah,
having problem.
the differences between the two, academic and applied research.
Oh yeah. Okay. Academic
Dr. Manda, you're breaking.
the research that you do normally to satisfy an academic
We cannot hear you.
Hello,
Should I
Dr. Manda.
summarize? Should I summarize? Can people hear me, Dimban?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. Masebo.
Yeah, so academic research is about a process of studying a problem or a situation, and this is aimed at generating new knowledge. We have talked of theories and other things related to academic. And again, it's for purposes of solving a problem or improving social life. So there are principles, and it's about generalization of knowledge, but again, within a specific field. But whereas applied research, action research, or industry research, this again is a systematic process, but is aimed at addressing a specific problem or a question. And in this one, you are trying to provide a solution immediately to the problem. So for example, there is COVID, and then you need to develop a drug, or you need to improve efficiency, productivity in your workforce. But you need to find out how to do this. Do you have to provide a scanning machine so that they check in and check out on arrival or leaving the campus? So the academic one might take longer for purposes of approvals, peer reviews, and other things. And you have to develop a manuscript that should be published. While for the industry one, you just summarize what needs to be changed in the policy and immediately start implementing the intervention. But then that intervention has to be evaluated. If it is evaluated and redesigned and so forth. There's what we call plan, do, study, and then act. This is well in tandem with the applied research. Yes, thank you. Dr. Manda, maybe now we can hear you.
I was saying that the distinction is very small. The purposes are the ones that distinguish. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The purpose of an academic study is that the purpose you look for to add to knowledge. Knowledge is for the sake of it. But for industrial research or applied research, you do it because in the industry there is a problem that needs to be. You need answers to that thing. For example, if a soap is not working properly, you need to experiment with new combinations and of materials that will help you to find a solution. I think that's all I can say for now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, once again, thank you so much, Dr. Manda and Dr. Masebo, for taking your time to responding to all the questions that were presented by the participants. We are getting very close to the end of today's session. Like I said earlier on, today's session was only here to to introduce a series of research sessions that we are going to have. So as an introductory part, that is why, because we simply wanted to open up to these sessions, and you may see that we are closing a little bit earlier than we should. So the next sessions that we are going to have, let me encourage all those participants who attended this session to say don't miss out on the next session, because now we're going to move on asking a question of, now after designing, what is the product of the design stage, and then how do we go about conducting the whole academic as well as industry research. So this will be more of a comprehensive session that will do a recap of today and also open up on how the research is done. I have seen a question which is talking about, so how do we do the interpretation and this after that? So I feel like this is now content that is of the next sessions that are coming. We may not be able to accommodate such in this session, but I would just encourage you to be part in the coming sessions. As we are concluding, before I officially close the session, I just want to present this opportunity to our key facilitators, Dr. Manda, but also Dr. Masebo. I have also seen Dr. Winter. I know you're here, but particularly to Dr. Manda and Dr. Masebo. I just want to know if there are concluding remarks before I officially close today's session. Over to you for any concluding remarks of the session.
I just want to apologize for coming in late and for being on a computer that is very jumpy, so you couldn't hear me properly. But for the research, the distinction is very clear. Industrial research is for you to produce results that are going to improve a certain product, while the academic research is for you for contribution to knowledge, as it were. Thank you very much for accommodating me.
Thank you, Rimbani. And you had last question, I think it is focusing on discussion of results. Can you repeat the question again?
Okay, yeah, the last question was to do with data interpretation and the like. So I felt like maybe that could be handled in the next session when we are now looking at conducting the research. But I don't know, what would be your advice?
Yes, that is in the next sessions. But then just to indicate that there are cases whereby a person is concluding the paper and is introducing new things. That is not allowed. So you discuss the findings. Now that we know what you have found out, what should we be able to do better? So in terms of practice, in terms of policy, in terms of further research, and you support these with available literature, but then this literature should already be covered in your background chapters so that you don't introduce new things in the discussions or in the recommendation, in the conclusions and so forth. Thank you. Otherwise, thank you for organizing this, Rimbani. I thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So dear all participants, now we are getting close to the session. As we are concluding, I would want to also, just like Dr. Manda, offer some apologies. We started the session a little bit late, around 10 past, because we had technical issues with the internet and the gadget. So apologies for that. Some people are asking like, when is the next session? So let me assure you that we are proposing, the proposal is already there, but we are intending to have the second session, possibly May close to end May, and then we are going to have another, which is the last session in June. And all these will be communicated to you accordingly through emails and all the other platforms that we have used to communicate this session. And lastly, I just want to, in a special way, recognize and also appreciate the presence of Dr. Masebo and Dr. Manda, who have been taking us through this session. We know you have a lot of things to do, but we also thank you so much for appreciating to be part of this challenge. We don't take it for granted. I would also want to, in a special way, also recognize Joanna, who is the more like the host, has been the host of this event. Thank you so much for taking your time organizing the event. And lastly, I also want to recognize all the participants for joining. Research is one of the key areas that are very important in both the academic as well as the industry life. So this decision you have made, do not stop. Let's be together in the next sessions. Appreciation to Dr. Winter for being part of the session. All of you, thank you so much for joining. I was just a moderator of the session, and see you in the next coming sessions. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.